In my holiday recipe playlist, you will see I have lots of Thanksgiving videos for delicious homemade food. Step-by-step instructions on how to brine and roast a turkey, how to make the gravy, lots of side dish recipes, and of course we can't forget the yummy desserts. If you have a chance, please take a look. They just might give you some ideas for the holidays. I am preparing the chicken very similar to the way I prepare my turkey. You can brine the chicken, but I'm skipping this step to make it simpler. I'm starting by making the seasoned butter rub. I have a half a stick of room temperature butter and I'm adding in a tablespoon of olive oil. This will help make it more spreadable and give the skin a nice golden color. For the seasonings, I have a half a teaspoon of salt, a quarter teaspoon of white pepper, and you can use black pepper, 1 teaspoon of parsley, half a teaspoon of poultry seasoning, and this gives a nice classic Thanksgiving taste, quarter teaspoon of savory, or you can use sage, quarter teaspoon of thyme for that earthy flavor, and finally a quarter teaspoon of garlic powder. You can use a spoon or fork to mix this. The idea is to get it well mixed and incorporated. These are the aromatics that I will be using to stuff the chicken and also make a bed for the chicken to set in the pan. I have some herbs from my garden of rosemary, sage, thyme, and parsley. The vegetables are an array of onions, carrots, and celery. I have some garlic, and we can't forget the lemon that gives us a pop of brightness. With the seasoned butter rub and these aromatics combined, this will add a tremendous amount of Thanksgiving goodness and flavor. I have my oven preheating to 425 degrees Fahrenheit. I place some of my veggies and herbs on the bottom of a baking pan, and the chicken will set on top so it cooks more evenly. The remainder of the onions, lemon, and herbs will be stuffed inside the chicken cavity, and again, this is to help flavor and cook the chicken evenly. I have an 8-pound whole chicken, and this will feed a good number of people. You can certainly use a smaller chicken, but I wanted some leftovers for some recipes. I rinsed and trimmed the chicken and now seasoning the inside of the cavity with some salt. Now I'm stuffing everything inside the chicken. I like to put the fresh herbs near the center, but I just stuff it as it fits. As the chicken cooks, these aromatics will release a lot of flavor. Once that is done, I'm going to apply my seasoned butter under and over the chicken skin. There is a thin membrane that connects the skin to the meat. Just gently slide your hand under the skin and break or disconnect that membrane. Try not to tear the skin, and if you do, it's not the end of the world. I'm placing about a third of the seasoned butter under the skin, and the other 2/3 will be rubbed on the outside. I'm making sure I get the breast area and also as far as I can reach on the legs. Just take your time. Finally, giving the outside a good rub down with the remaining butter. This will melt and make a nice golden crust and some awesome juices for our gravy. I tucked the wings under the chicken and tied the legs together with twine, and again, this is to help evenly cook the chicken. Finally, I'm adding about a half a cup of water to the bottom. The veggies and the chicken will produce some juices. I will check on the chicken throughout the cooking, will add more if needed. You will need about 2 cups of juices for the gravy. The chicken is going into a preheated 425 degree Fahrenheit oven for 1.5 to 2 hours. If you find the skin is getting browner than you like, you can tent the top with foil to prevent burning. It took the chicken 1 hour and 50 minutes to thoroughly cook. You want the internal temp of the chicken to be 165 to 170. And when you insert the meat thermometer, you want it in the thickest part of the thigh but not touching the bone. Remove the chicken from the pan and let it rest for 15 to 20 minutes before cutting. With the juices, I made some chicken gravy, and I'm serving with stuffing, mashed potatoes, and Brussels sprouts. If you would like to see the recipes for the gravy and stuffing, you will be able to find them on my holiday video playlist. The recipes for the mashed potatoes and Brussels sprouts and more is coming soon. The Thanksgiving chicken came out tender and full of flavor. All the seasonings scream Thanksgiving, a warm and comforting meal. If you don't like turkey, then you may want to try a Thanksgiving chicken. Stay tuned because I have lots of recipes and ideas to come. Wishing you all a wonderful holiday season. Take care and enjoy. I have 4 large sweet potatoes that I peeled, and I'm dicing into fairly nice sized pieces. During the holidays, the oven is usually packed full of goodies. For this candied sweet potato recipe, I will be cooking them on the stovetop. In my skillet on medium heat, I'm adding in a half a cup of unsalted butter, 1 cup of dark brown sugar, a 1/4 cup of white sugar, and that gives it a nice balance. And finally, a 1/4 cup of light corn syrup, and this will help give the sauce a sticky consistency so it sticks to the sweet potatoes. Cooking and stirring on medium heat until all the butter is melted and incorporated. Just a reminder that I will leave the recipe and the list of ingredients for these candied sweet potatoes below this video. Also remember to like and subscribe if you enjoyed this video recipe, and click the bell to make sure you receive notification of all my future video recipes. Before this comes up to a low simmer, I'm adding in my spices. I have 1 teaspoon of cinnamon, and I'm using a Saigon cinnamon that has a nice flavor, a 1/4 teaspoon of ground nutmeg, and 1/8 teaspoon of ground ginger that gives it that zing, a good pinch of kosher salt or sea salt, and giving that a good stir, bringing this up to a low simmer. These are my sweet potatoes, and you can see I kept them large rustic pieces. There is no right or wrong, just so you get them similar sized pieces and big enough that they will hold up in the cooking. The sweet potatoes will produce some liquid while cooking. I'm giving everything a good stir, bringing back up to a simmer, covering and cooking for 10 minutes. After 10 minutes, I'm removing the lid and stirring gently. You can see the potatoes have produced some liquid and still have some knife resistance. These sweet potatoes are going to simmer another 10 to 15 minutes uncovered until the liquid is reduced, the sauce thickens, and the potatoes are knife tender. During the last 5 minutes, you don't want to stir the potatoes. Just spoon that delicious sticky sweet sauce over the potatoes. As the potatoes become tender, you will see some of the edges flaking off, and that is a good thing. This means the candied sweet potatoes are done and also helps thicken that sauce. At this time, you could also add anything else that you like. You can add in a few cranberries, nuts, or even some lemon or orange zest. Once the sweet potatoes are done, I'm pouring them into a serving dish. The sugary sticky sauce is molten hot, so be careful. Let the sweet potatoes cool for a good 15 minutes before serving. The sauce will thicken to a sticky consistency. These candied sweet potatoes are so good and a delicious treat. Lots of memories on the holiday table. Serving tonight with some chicken, stuffing, baked beans, and Brussels sprouts. Now that is a meal. I hope you give these easy, sweet, and delicious candied sweet potatoes a try and enjoy. If you like this video recipe, please hit the like and subscribe button. Remember to hit the bell next to the subscribe to make sure that you get my future video recipes. You can also find me on Facebook and at my website. Feel free to share this recipe and my channel with your friends and family. And until next time, much love! If you go to any large grocery store, including Walmart, you'll be able to find delicious peaches this time of year. And if you're real fortunate, you'll be able to get some great bargains at farmers markets and local produce stands. There are so many easy and delicious recipes that you can make with peaches, and I plan to share a few of those with you in the next coming weeks. I thought I would start by showing you how I make an authentic, homemade southern peach cobbler. I purchased about 10 pounds of peaches, and I'm giving them a bath. I'm filling my sink with cold water until the peaches are covered and floating, and then I'm adding in a 1/4 cup of hydrogen peroxide. The solution is 1 tablespoon of hydrogen peroxide per 1 gallon of cold water. So I use about 1/4 cup of hydrogen peroxide for 1/4 to 1/2 sink full of cold water. The peroxide helps clean and kills any microbes on the peaches. I'm just lightly swishing the peaches around to remove any debris and soaking for about 10 minutes. Then I'm going to rinse the peaches under cold water and dry on a towel. For this southern peach cobbler recipe, I need about 5 to 6 cups of fresh sliced peaches. So for this amount, I'm going to need about 10 to 12 peaches, depending on their size. The recipe calls for 4 cups, but I usually have my Pyrex cup mounded full of peaches. They will cook down some, so we are good. I just get an assembly line going where I remove all the pits, then peel, and then cut into similar sized pieces. You want the peach slices about 1/4 to 1/2 inch wide so they cook evenly and don't fall apart. In my large saucepan I have the peaches and I'm adding in 1 cup of sugar. This amount does not make the peaches real sweet, but it really enhances the peach flavor. I'm adding in just a pinch of salt and 1/4 cup of cornstarch, and this is going to help produce a nice thick peach sauce. Finally, the only liquid I'm adding is a little orange juice. I'm turning my heat to a medium, and that is around a 6 on my electric stove. I'm giving everything a good but gentle toss as you don't want to break up your peaches. I'm bringing the peaches up to a simmer on medium heat. As the peaches cook, they will soften and release their juices to produce this delicious peachy glaze. This is going to take about 10 minutes. Once the peaches are tender and the peach sauce is thickened, I'm removing the peaches from the heat and adding in a couple spices. Here I'm adding in 1/2 teaspoon of cinnamon, and I'm using Saigon cinnamon. And also about 5 to 6 grates of fresh nutmeg. Not much. And that's it. Giving everything a good gentle toss to combine and letting that slightly cool. You might be tempted to add more cinnamon, but trust me, less is more in this recipe. You just want a hint or a background of cinnamon. You don't want to overwhelm that wonderful peach flavor. I have my oven preheating to 350 degrees Fahrenheit. I have 1 stick of butter that I'm going to melt in a 9 by 13 baking dish. Next, I'm going to make the batter. For this southern peach cobbler recipe, you want to use self-rising flour like this one. You don't want to use all-purpose flour for this recipe. In my bowl, I have 1 1/2 cups of self-rising flour, and I'm adding in 1 cup of sugar. Giving that a good toss to combine, and then adding in 1 1/2 cups of whole milk. Giving that a good stir, and the batter will be thin like a pancake batter. Now that my butter is melted, I'm pouring my batter right over the melted butter. Do not attempt to stir, just pour it in as evenly as you can and don't worry about it. Now here is where it gets exciting. I'm taking my peach mixture and spooning over the batter. Just spoon it on as evenly as you can and make sure you get the sides and corners. You want that wonderful peachy taste in every spoonful. If you have more than 4 cups of the peach mixture, you can save it for serving over the top. This southern peach cobbler is going into a 350 degree Fahrenheit oven for 50 minutes or until golden brown and bubbly on top. About 10 minutes before the peach cobbler is done, I add a sprinkle of cinnamon and coarse raw sugar on the top to give it more flavor and texture. After the final 10 minutes of baking, I'm removing and letting the peach cobbler cool for at least 30 minutes before serving. It is piping hot. You can see the batter bubbled up and formed this beautiful cobbler cake, and the peaches and all the peachy glaze is baked throughout. Oh my goodness, if you could all smell this. This has to be a smell from heaven. I think the peach cobbler is the best warm right out of the oven and served with a scoop of ice cream or whipped cream. Our family also likes the cobbler warm with cold milk poured over the top. However you like to eat your peach cobbler, this is a delicious and rather easy authentic Southern peach cobbler recipe. There is nothing like cooking with fresh peaches. They have such a bright summer sweet taste. Canned peaches are okay, but if you have the availability of fresh peaches, this Southern peach cobbler recipe is the one to make. It is so good and your family will love you. That is what food is all about, bringing people together. I hope you give this homemade Southern peach cobbler a try and enjoy. If you like this video recipe, please hit the like and subscribe button. Remember to hit the bell next to the subscribe to make sure that you get my future video recipes. You can also find me on Facebook and at my website. Feel free to share this recipe and my channel with your friends and family. And until next time, much love.